If you're sitting there wondering what's really happening between you and your person, stay with me and see what my cards have to say. There could be a message in here for you. Hello and welcome to You and Them, your weekly love reading with me, Cesmina. As always, this is a collective reading, so take what resonates and leave the rest, and reverse the roles where you need to. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the channeled song that came through. Um, it was Little Things by One Direction, okay? So for me, this is like things are getting more serious, more deep between you and your person. But I think that this is happening or has happened really subtly, really quietly. So it's not something you'll notice in the moment, but it's like your relationship feels more serious all of a sudden, and you can't place when this happened. Like if you look back, you can't be sure when or how you guys got to this level, but things are more serious now. I feel like you guys have got closer in the sort of day-to-day living or the little moments. I feel like everyday things have brought you closer together and have made your relationship feel more serious and more, I'm hearing, permanent. And I feel like in the moment you guys haven't noticed this happening, and I feel like that's because it felt so natural. That's what was coming through. That's the energy that was coming through with this song. So, Little Things by One Direction. Let's get a card for your person now to start off the reading. Okay, we've got the Seven of Cups. Okay, so they're overwhelmed right now. They're feeling stressed out over you. Why? What's going on here? Your person feels avoidant to me, not in a bad way. It feels to me like too many emotions too quick. Like it's too much for them. Makes sense with what I was saying about your relationship sort of developing naturally and sort of in the quiet moments. I feel like they need time to process. So they might be kind of distant. Like when you're talking to them at the moment, you may feel like their mind is on other things. And I feel like you're right there. I feel like that's true. Like they aren't present, but their mind is on, it's not on other things, it's on you. That's why they don't seem present. And I feel like they're thinking about very specific things about you. They're thinking about the things that make you you. Yeah, those little things. Yeah. So that's what your channeled song is all about. So they seem very focused on you. And the focus, this is very, very specific. The focus is on you, it's not on the relationship. I feel like the relationship and where that stands right now is too intense for them right now. Because, like I said, it seems like your relationship has developed very quickly and very subtly. And I feel like that's freaked your person out. And so they are, yeah, I feel like if they think about your relationship, they've got all of these questions, that like, how did this happen so fast? Or, when did things get to this level? When did we get to this level? When did this happen? And so I think it's easier for them to focus on you and things about you. It's almost soothing their anxiety, but I do feel like they've got a little bit obsessed with like the comfort of that. And so it's backfired on them because now they're I feel like now they're freaking out about caring about these little things about you, and what that might mean. So now they're asking themselves questions like, how do I know this about my person? Or why do I remember these little things about them, Why do I care so much about these little things? And this feels to me like everyday sort of boring things, like I don't know, like your morning routine or food you like or snacks that you like to have, things that you like to watch. Yes, it's the little things. I'm hearing something about insecurities now. There's like a focus on your insecurities. So anything that you've mentioned to your person that you don't really like about yourself, there's something coming through there about that they love that about you. They love your insecurities. So they're even thinking about your insecurities and, idealizing your insecurities as well, because I feel like they've gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole. And I think they've gone down this rabbit hole thinking about you because that's easier right now, and it's less intimidating to them. That's less intimidating, to remember little things about you instead of confronting or talking about that subtle but obvious change in your relationship. So even though they're freaking out about the fact that they care about these little things, it's easier for your person to focus on the little things instead of the relationship as a whole. So I do feel like they're avoiding vulnerability and they're avoiding the bigger issue. I feel like this is intimacy related. It's like how much intimacy they can stand all at once. Like they've hit their limit there. And I think because of that, they're they're avoiding the bigger or more intense intimacy with a smaller and less intimidating form of it. So instead of talking about your relationship right now, they're trying to show up. They're trying to show up still, but in a less intimidating and a less intense way. So, and the way they're doing this is by remembering those little things about you and sort of, it's like they're studying you, if you like. And I feel like that's really soothing their anxiety. It's like your person knows what they can and can't handle right now. Let's see about you now. Five of Swords. Oh, okay. Two avoidance, maybe? Do you know what? This was in the reading last week. Interesting. Okay, so last week, this was all about this card was it was about feeling defensive after admitting feelings or being vulnerable and like putting your walls back up after being vulnerable because neither of you wanted to be the first to admit feelings to lose the upper hand or the power in the relationship. You didn't. And still don't want to be the first to admit that you care, or maybe that you care more than them or more than you've been letting on. And I feel like you are still in this energy from last week. Yeah, I feel like you have also noticed this subtle change in your relationship, okay? You can see that your relationship is a little more serious. You can see the intensity, and the meaning in those small moments that you guys sort of shared. Like you can see it, but there is no way that you're going to be the one to bring it up or mention it or have that conversation. Maybe because you've done this before and you don't want to always be the one to initiate that conversation, those what are we conversations. And I feel like you're freaked out too by this change because I'm hearing those questions again like, how did we get here? How did our relationship get this far? How did it get this serious? Like, when did this happen? You do feel like an avoidant to me, or at least maybe you're just closed off or defensive at the moment or protecting yourself at the moment. Like, I don't think you want to be vulnerable or exposed right now. You don't want to be the one to confront this. So it does feel like both of you are more comfortable pretending that neither of you has noticed how serious or how far or how committed your relationship has become. I do feel like that happened under the radar. And like you two have only recently noticed. And you're like, wow, okay, when did this happen? How did I miss this? And I think it's because it's happened in those small moments, in day to day living. You've gotten closer. What's the word I'm looking for? Naturally? Yeah, natural. That's why you didn't notice because it was so natural. Okay. Let's see what they're showing you at the moment. Seven of Pentacles. Interesting. Okay. So they're not running away. They're still committed. They're still here. But this is like it's on their terms. It's like they want to make sure, yeah, that they want to make sure that they're still putting in effort, like they're still consistent. But it feels very low stakes to me at the moment. So this comes back to what I was saying about them focusing on the little things instead of the relationship as a whole because they're more comfortable with the little things right now. They're more comfortable remembering things about you, all the things that you like or that you don't like, about yourself or about your life, or about life in general. It definitely feels every day, or like even mundane to me, So you could feel like I feel like you guys might feel like they've taken one step forward and three back. I do feel like it might look that way on the surface, like they may seem kind of distant. But it's just that right now, they aren't running, which I feel like is an improvement for them. This is vulnerable for them. If it was kind of if it was kind of intense for them, they can't run. I feel like instead they're choosing what to focus on and what to show you because they're almost at their limit for vulnerability. So they're pulling their energy back a bit to evaluate and work on how they feel about this development in your relationship. Because again, I feel like that happened under the radar. I feel like it appeared out of nowhere. And so your person needs time to work out how they feel about that. They need time to sort of process those emotions, you know. I feel like this development in your relationship, it went from feeling natural to feeling like a jump scare, you know. So, but yeah, I'm seeing that you guys may feel like you're getting mixed signals from your person again, and that's because they aren't great at not letting their emotions affect their actions or affect the way they are on the outside. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like they can't or they struggle, especially at the moment when this relationship is getting intense. I feel like they struggle to keep their emotions hidden. I think I think they can stop themselves talking about it, but I don't think they can stop those emotions affecting their mood or affecting how quiet they are or how focused they are. Yeah, I don't think they're very good at that. Let's see what you're showing them. Okay, so you have the devil. Yeah, that makes sense. You definitely don't want to be the vulnerable one right now. You know, you don't want to be the one who brings up this development in your relationship. I'm hearing you did it last time, or it's always you that brings up the next step or the what are we conversations. So, yeah, I feel like you're always the one to do it. So, you feel like you've been vulnerable enough for the time being. And so now you're on the defensive, you know, your walls are up and you're protecting yourselves. You're hiding your emotions or hiding how much this means to you, you know. You're definitely repressing some emotions. And I feel like you're doing that to keep the power. Yeah, I feel like you guys lost the power recently in the relationship. So maybe you guys were vulnerable with your person recently, and I'm hearing that's enough for now. So you're trying to be maybe nonchalant, or maybe you're trying to keep it light or come across as though it's no big deal to you, or, you know, like you haven't even noticed, you know. Yeah, it's definitely a nonchalant energy coming from you. And I feel like you guys are doing this to protect yourselves and to keep a sense of control in this situation. I do feel like you and your partner have a lot of silent conversations. There's like an energy of telepathy coming through there. But you're the one who verbalizes those conversations eventually. I do feel like you're always the one. And so right now you guys are like you're in a silent conversation about this subtle but intense development in your relationship. You're like, yes, this happened, and we both know that this has happened. We don't know how this has happened, but you're trying to come across as like it doesn't bother me, or I know, but I'm not going to be the one to bring it up, you know. I'm not going to be the one to be vulnerable again. It's possible that your person pulling their energy back and getting overwhelmed has irritated you. Maybe you thought that you'd already overcome that challenge. Like maybe they did that in the past and you thought that that was in the past. And it's just seeming like a repeating cycle to you now. But you're showing them that you have control of yourselves and you have control of your emotions. Yeah, you could actually be enjoying or at least pretending that you enjoy the chaos. That's how your energy is coming through, like describing this as like chaos. I feel like you guys like to know what's going on and like everything to be out on the table and like these sort of silent conversations. That feels like chaos to you. I feel like them getting stressed about this situation, I feel like that's made you feel more attractive and more desirable because you can see that they do care and they maybe they feel to me like this is how you know that they're overwhelmed. This is how you know that they really do care when they sort of pull their energy back, even if it does irritate you. I feel like that's made you feel, yeah, attractive and desirable. So you might actually be feeling more comfortable being intimate or being sexual around your person at the moment because you feel like you're in a position of power, or at least that's how you're coming across to your person. So you could be doing this, by accident. You know, to them, you seem very comfortable and very in control and very laid back. Yeah, I think they're finding that quite attractive, or it's at least easing their anxiety because you aren't jumping on them and you aren't like forcing them to talk about this. You're staying in your power, but that is like no pressure on them. There is also this message coming through about sexual intimacy between you and your partner. That may seem a lot easier and more enjoyable right now because I feel like for both of you, it's like a way that you guys can feel close and still avoid the subject of the relationship developing sort of under the radar. Interesting. Okay. Let's see what they're not showing you right now. Page of Swords. Okay, so yeah, like I said, they're focused on you, like really focused. They're studying you, paying very close attention to what you like, what you don't, what you do every day, your routines, favorite foods, favorite places, etc. Yeah, really studying you. So they're doing this because it's easier to study you than talk about or confront where your relationship is at right now. And I think they're trying to study you subtly, okay? They're trying to be under the radar here. But like I said, your person is not good at hiding their emotions. Like they can't do that. At least not with you. It could be that you just know them so well that you can just tell. But yeah, they're trying to hide how much the relationship developing under the radar has freaked them out. They're overthinking. They're obsessed with you right now. And the reason they're obsessed with you is because that feels less intimidating. Those little things about you, they feel easy to sort of overthink and to overanalyze, that feels easier, it's instead of asking themselves questions like, what are we, we're a lot more serious than we originally wanted, what do we do now? But yeah, the little things about you are easier, and they're getting obsessed and going down a rabbit hole with this because that feels addictive. And I think it feels addictive because it feels safe to them. So talking about the relationship and where it's at, that would make them feel vulnerable and sort of exposed, but thinking about you, over analyzing you, studying the things that you like and what you don't, that makes them feel safe, that makes them feel secure. I think it's because it's something that they know and it's something that they're familiar with. Whereas talking about your relationship, they would almost be going into the unknown. But yeah, they're finding it really addictive to think about you right now. Maybe that's why you guys are coming through as the devil, as that addictive and powerful energy. Let's see what you're not showing them now. Knight of Pentacles. Okay, so you want more with this person. You want much more. And like I said, this attention, this obsessive behavior, this studying, it's really like you are going to like this. You're going to like how much attention they're giving you, and you're going to like it so much that it's going to make you guys start thinking about the long term if you aren't already. I think you guys are enjoying this position of power. Like I said, you're wanting to keep this going, you're wanting to prolong this for as long as you can because it's nice. It's nice to be the center of your partner's universe, I feel like this is something you guys have thought about having in a long-term partner. Or maybe you haven't thought about it, but after experiencing it with your partner, that's something that you want now. Yeah, I feel like this attention that they're showing you, even though they have pulled back their energy, I feel like they've pulled back before and it was more distant than this. But this time they're still here, like they're more present. They're not running away. And I think you are finding that very attractive. It's like they're distant, but they're not as distant as they were before. They're focused on you, they're putting all their energy into learning everything about you. Granted, it's because they can't handle the intensity of the relationship right now. And that step back, that focus shift, feels easier for them, but they're consistent in a way that you haven't seen before. And I feel like you're hiding how much you like this from your person. I feel like if you were completely honest with your person right now, you would say, I love this, I love the attention. Yeah, I'm hearing the attention to detail, and just how present they are. I feel like if you guys were completely honest, you would tell them to keep doing this. But you aren't in an energy right now where you can be vulnerable. You'd rather be nonchalant and in the position of power right now, which works actually because your partner is finding that very attractive as well. So I do feel like you guys understand each other silently. I think I've got that telepathy coming through again. So definitely some silent conversations going on at the moment. Okay, let's see what's changing this week. Three of Wands. Wow. So, okay, your person will. eventually shift their focus from you onto your relationship. It's just going to take them a while, okay? So this feels to me like a transition, okay? A very, I'm getting that word again, natural transition from the little things about you to the relationship. I feel like they're building their way up slowly. Like the two of you don't usually talk things through. Like you like to let things, well, if I'm being honest, I think you avoid them. But if it feels natural and not forced, I feel like it gives one or both of you the confidence to move forward. But it has to feel easy and natural. And this focus on you, this avoidance of the bigger picture that your person is doing, ironically, I think that brings your partner to the relationship as a whole anyway. It's like they're going the long way round. But I do feel like that was the right thing for them to do because they've got the confidence to confront that issue, to bite that bullet now. Because I feel like with all that attention on you, like your relationship has developed even further, because they've paid attention and they've stayed committed and consistent without running away. Let's see how this is showing up in real life. I'm thinking it's going to be like a slow burn kind of thing. And I feel like the way you're being, I think, you're trying to act nonchalant, I feel like that has actually made them feel more comfortable and like, yeah, they don't feel pressured. And that feels like the key to me. And you feel in control and powerful. And I feel like that's the key for you because you don't feel like you're carrying the relationship, like you did last week or in general. And they don't feel pressured. So it's sort of working both ways. Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, a slow burn and consistency again. Okay, interesting. So you're going to notice them showing up for you, okay, in actions, I think. They're going to be taking the things that they've learned about you, the things that they know about you, the things that they've been memorizing about you, and they're going to be using those things, those little things to show you care. And so that would be things like picking up your favorite food on the way home from work, binging your favorite TV show with you, and actually being interested, in the plot and asking questions, and really being present. I'm getting something about helping you through work stress that's very specific, something about a feud with a colleague at work. That's very specific. But yeah, knowing those little things about you, they're going to become things that they actually do for you instead of just knowing them. They're going to be getting those things for you. They're going to be bringing you those things that you like. And I think they're going to be, yeah, maybe trying to prevent anything that you don't like happening if they can as well. I'm sort of being shown that energy going both ways. Let's see what your big moment with them this week is. Oh my God, the King of Swords. Okay, so I'm tasting alcohol now. I feel like that's a message. So this could be a conversation or, well, it's more like a confession that happens when you're both a little drunk. Not really drunk, just a little. I think you or your person will need that liquid courage. If you two don't drink, this could just be like a situation where the two of you are more happy or more comfortable or more confident than you would usually be. It could be you that I know I roll. It's always you who does it, right? Who starts the conversation, but it could be that this attention from your partner has made you feel more confident and more, I want to say, appreciated than usual. And so you, because of that, you might not mind being the one to do it again, start that conversation again. They've almost buttered you up. Um, that's a possibility here, but it could also be them. For them, I'm definitely seeing liquid courage. So, like alcohol, I'm tasting the alcohol again. That's a very specific message, but this is a conversation, okay, that's coming about your relationship. If this is your person, this is going to be about what they can handle emotionally right now and what they can't. This is going to be very blunt and very sharp, but I feel like it's honest. You know, they're saying, I know we've gone a little bit further than we meant to. This has turned into something a little bit more serious. I know that that happened naturally and neither of us realized until it was staring us in the face, but can we take this slow? Again, with that slow burn energy, it's like they're saying, yes, I'm okay with this, but can we please go at my speed? It's like, it's very matter of fact. It's like, this is what I can give you right now, but this isn't. I'm working, yeah, it's like I'm working my way up to that Knight of Pentacles that you want. It's just that right now I'm feeling a little overwhelmed and you seem okay with where we're at. Remember, you're hiding your feelings. You're hiding your impatience. But you're showing them that you're enjoying being in the position of power. You're loving this attention, you're loving the special treatment, you're loving being the center of their attention, and they've picked up on that. And so, yeah, a clear and mature conversation about where they're willing to go, how far they're willing to go, unless you're the one doing it. The only difference between you or them doing it um, is what makes you bite the bullet. Okay, so for you, it's this feeling of confidence that your person has given you. For your person, it's that lack of pressure from you. So take that where it resonates. Let's look into where this is taking your relationship now. Yes, strength. So yeah, some boundaries being pointed out and named during that conversation. I'm definitely tasting alcohol. Weird, but anyway, it's like you respect your person for the effort they're making, and they respect you for not pushing them. So even though this tension, this relationship development has been called out, you're respecting your person's need to take things slow, and they're respecting your need to see some consistency in the meantime. So, yes, you can take things slow, but you need some reassurance in the meantime. Nothing wrong with that. And your person is like, okay, I can do that, but emotionally, you've got to take your time with me, okay? So, yeah, there's like a mutual need for some patience. Um, yeah, patience needed on both sides here. I do feel like you guys are going to cross each other's boundaries. I'm not going to lie about that. I do see that happening. Um, but I feel like this is like a learning curve. I feel like this is something you guys need to go through. Yeah, but some mutual understanding this week, you know. And I feel like there's understanding where there wasn't before. I feel like you guys see each other a bit clearer than you did before. And so you're ignoring your ego and they're trying, I think they're trying not to overthink because I feel like when they overthink, they freak out. And I feel like when they freak out, you get defensive and you use your ego as like a shield. Yeah, so you're trying to respect each other's boundaries. And I think that's because both of you, you want to see where this relationship goes and you want to see what the potential is here. And I feel like you both want to go at a speed that feels natural. You don't want to force anything and you want to do this in a way that doesn't feel intimidating to either of you. Last card. Let's see where you two stand at the end of the week. Page of Pentacles. Okay, yeah. This makes so much sense. Like I said, you know each other's boundaries now and you know how you want to move forward. But by the end of the week, I feel like you two are trying to combine these, okay? You know, you're trying to work out how to move forward within your partner's boundaries. Again, this might be hard for the two of you to get the hang of. You guys feel like opposites to me. It feels a little bit like opposites attract to me. That's the energy that's coming through. But it's going to take you guys a while to learn each other's speeds or each other's love languages, and how this actually plays out in real life. You know, how your speeds and how your boundaries are actually going to play out in your relationship. But I feel like with the knowledge from this conversation, you guys have a clearer idea of how to move forward in this relationship than you did before. I don't think you're going to be as frustrated as you were, um, because you are both willing. You know, you're both still here. You're both still trying. You know, you're both staying. You know, and I feel like that's what counts for you two. That's what will make you want to make that effort and commit to this relationship because, you know, even if it isn't verbalized, even if you have to approach each other carefully or approach intimacy and emotions cautiously, you know that you're both here to stay. You know, you're both willing to learn. Um, you're both willing to try. And yeah, okay, that's all that's coming through here. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope this gave you something to think about and I hope it helped you in some way. But for now, I'll see you in my next reading. Take care.